In this video, I'm going to tell you why your lead magnet isn't working and, more importantly, how to fix it. I'm Wes McDowell, web strategist for The Deep End, and the second most important thing your website can do is build your list of future customers. And the way you do that is with a really compelling and irresistible lead magnet. The trick is, it has to be so good, so compelling, that people will willingly hand over their email address for it, rather than just looking elsewhere online for it for free. So creating an enticing lead magnet starts that relationship building process with those future clients and future customers. Once they've given you their email address, you now have a direct link to them that allows you to communicate with them regularly and whenever you want to. In marketing, there's something called the rule of 7, which basically says most people need to hear the same thing or read the same thing 7 times before they'll actually hear it for the first time. And one of the best ways to accomplish this is through email marketing. So that first step again is creating that lead magnet, and like everything else in business, there's a right way and a wrong way of doing it. And honestly, most businesses just kind of miss the mark when it comes to the creation of their lead magnet. And the result? Nobody wants your lead magnet and your list size stays exactly the same. So if you want to do it right, let's take a look at some of the biggest reasons why lead magnets fail so that you won't make the same mistakes. And before we get into the real list, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to call this reason 0, which is joining your newsletter is not a lead magnet. A lead magnet needs to make a promise and then deliver on that promise. Basically, when people sign up for a newsletter, all that's being promised is just an inbox full of spam. Now let's get on to the top 5 reasons why most lead magnets fail. And the first reason is it's too promotional. So normally when I work with a new client, what we agree on is that we'll talk about what they could do. I'll research and I'll basically hand them the overall topic and title for their lead magnet, but they're the one who usually ends up fleshing it out and writing it. And what I started noticing before I caught on to it as a trend and kind of stopped it before it happened is most of these clients would come back to me with a lead magnet that was basically a really thinly veiled commercial or brochure for their own services. This should not be the purpose of your lead magnet. Remember, the lead magnet is only your first touch with a new prospect. The much smarter move is just to wow them with that first interaction and get them a quick win with that content that they will associate you with. And remember, now you've got their email address, so you can always promote to them later. Now is not the time to do that. The only exception to this would be if it's some kind of a webinar or a more lengthy video training where after you're done with the teaching part, now you can kind of segue into a bit of a pitch, a bit of a soft pitch after you've given a lot of free value. And even if it's kind of more of a guide or a checklist, feel free to, at the end of it, give again another soft pitch or a call to action of some kind, but it should really kind of feel like the next logical step in their journey. Something like, now that you know all this, if you want some one-on-one help with it, feel free to schedule a consultation with us. Okay, number 2, it promises general knowledge over specific results. The biggest key to a freebie that works is in the specificity of it. If it promises to solve a problem that your ideal client's going through right now, that's going to resonate really well. But on the flip side, if it's something like, 5 things you should know, that's just not very compelling and it's not really going to make anybody want to give over their email address because it kind of just sounds like a blog post. 5 things to know before hiring a contractor definitely sounds like a blog post, right? On the other hand, 5 insider secrets to hiring out your kitchen remodel sounds much more specific and much more intriguing. It's specific, it provides insider knowledge, which everybody wants, and it uses a lot of curiosity to really bring people into it. So a lead magnet that doesn't just promise to, fill their head with more knowledge, but instead promises a specific actionable result is going to do much better and it's going to get a lot more opt-ins that way. Okay, next we have the wrong format for your audience or for the material. So once you've figured out the perfect topic and title for the lead magnet, the next thing you need to figure out is what format are you going to deliver it in. So the format needs to not only lend itself to the actual material, but it has to be a kind of format that your ideal client would want to consume. So when I say format, what I really mean is anything from a webinar or a video series or an audio training or even like a written format like a swipe file, resource file, guide, or checklist. So an obvious mismatch here would be, if your ideal client is a busy mom and you want her to sit down and watch a 2-hour webinar. It might work a lot better if you were to do an audio training, like basically a podcast episode that she could listen to on her way to work. And remember, your lead magnet has to be higher quality than they could just find anywhere else online. It doesn't necessarily have to be longer. One of my best performing lead magnets is just a checklist of action items because people love to be told exactly what to do in what order. And that can work amazingly well if it makes sense for your business. Okay, next up we have lack of exposure. So let's say you made the best lead magnet in the world. It's super helpful, it's super actionable, but if it's just sitting there on your website and you're not getting any traffic to it, how well do you think it's going to do? You obviously need people to see it if it's going to perform well for you. And if you're not already getting a lot of traffic to your website, this probably is going to come in the form of paid advertising like Facebook ads or Instagram ads. And by the way, much better ad spend to pay to put your lead magnet in front of new prospects using these paid advertisements rather than what most people do, which is just advertise your core services. And if you want to know more about running lead ads on Facebook, I did a video for it and you can access that right up here. And in addition to running these paid ads, there's also quite a few free things you can do to advertise your lead magnet, like just putting a link to it in your email signature and in your social media profiles. And I also really recommend using an exit intent pop-up on your website to further promote your lead magnet. So people are going back up to the back button on your website, and then the pop-up appears saying, hey, before you go, why don't you opt in for this? Okay, and the next way that a lead magnet can fail is there's not enough overlap with your paid services. The whole point of offering a lead magnet is to attract the right type of customer and build a relationship from there, moving them from someone who doesn't know who you are and doesn't know that they need your service all the way through to the perfect customer who's willing, able, and ready to work with you or buy from you. So if your lead magnet isn't something that that person would want, you're already starting off on the wrong track. So your lead magnet should be very closely aligned with what it is you offer and charge for. In many cases, it's just going to show them how to DIY a really simple version of what you can offer them. The implication being, if that still doesn't help and you need to bring out the bigger guns, I can help you go even further with this. So maybe you're a plumber and you're teaching them how to fix a clogged sink, but then things may get worse with that situation, or they may have another bigger problem that comes up, and now they think of you and they call you to fix the problem for them. But I've got so much more to teach you about lead magnets and email opt-ins and all that good stuff, so go ahead and click on one of these videos right over here and we can keep learning together. All right guys, I'm Wes McDowell for The Deep End, and I'll see you in one of those videos.